Welcome to Mindboost Moments, a podcast for those who want to hear from like-minded people and how they're making a dent in the world. So join me on my continued journey of learning and discovery. I had an amazing conversation this week with Houra Amin, who's the Learning Director of Blue Jay Learning. We had a bonkers chat which all started off with Houra's ability to get lost in her travels, through to the humanisation of AI and replacing perfection with progress. During our chat we also spoke a lot about learning psychology, influencing people's behaviour and measuring the impact in both people and organisations. I really hope you enjoy the episode. This is Mindboost Moments.
I would say the very first thing about me is I absolutely love nature and adventure, both of them. And it's kind of finding those new opportunities everywhere that opportunity might be something that brings me. So I would say that is a huge part of my personality. I just love these two. And work-wise, I'm director of Blue Jay Learning. And I help organizations to make sure their learning strategies and learning initiatives are really connected to their business needs. And to do that, I really bring in insights from behavioral science. And this is something I'm really passionate about. Yeah. It's just understanding the human behavior, the nuances of behavior, why we do what we do. All those kind of nuances in the brain and the behavior, things that influence decisions we make, the things we do, how we prioritize our life, all of these things is actually at the center of what I do at work as well.
Wow. And how long have you been sort of working in L&D or, learning? And because we met through learning technologies, didn't we? We were both judges on learning technologies. So I think we've done that a couple of times, actually, been in the same category. Yeah. But so how long have you been involved in learning and supporting organisations?
It's been quite a long time. So my background is education. And I started with basically teaching languages to adults. And when I said in 2014, I moved to the States, it was basically a little bit of shift because I wanted to basically do organization, like workplace learning, more professionally, understanding the nuances, how we can help people, understanding that kind of learning science side of things. And this is how I shifted from teaching or from that education background to organizational learning. Okay. So I did a master's back then. And since then, I've started helping organizations with their learning initiatives. And you're right, we actually met when we were judging learning technologies. And this is one of the things that I think actually we can both agree, because I remember when we were judging, we had this conversation. It's amazing to see what other people are doing, the innovations, the kind of thinking other people have and bring into space. So, yeah.
I think if I remember when we were judging, the lead judge in our category thought we were going to have a bit of a bun fight about who to shortlist, and we just both went, we're all right with that. We agree with that. We're both aligned on this. It was like, oh, this is going to be easy then. I was expecting a fight between judges. Like, no, we agree. Yeah. Why wouldn't we? It's about learning and understanding how to help people.
Absolutely. I think one of the things I really love about learning technologies judging is it's not always, it doesn't happen that always people agree with each other. So everyone has their perspective. They bring in their way of thinking and nuances. But then there is this passion about finding the best practices. And I think this is where mostly everyone is aligned with that. Okay, let's focus on what works best. And
I think it's about learning as well ourselves. And, so you'll see lots of things that happen routinely and that sort of go unchallenged. And then you'll also see lots of things that are new. And if as a judge, you don't go, wow, that's actually quite interesting. And it doesn't matter if it's not the prettiest thing that's been presented or crafted, or, if it's not been executed perfectly. Sometimes it's just a little nugget that you go, oh, wow, that's been really thought differently. And how can I learn from that? How can we, of elevate that everyone else sort of learns a little bit about it? It's about curiosity, isn't it? Curiosity about what other people are doing and why they're doing it and what change that has made.
Totally agree. And I think you had a great point there. It's not about having those pretty, or I'll say the word, or sexy
Yeah.
features that you can see, in a learning product. It's sometimes people bringing some really small things, but it's the way they approach it is different that makes that thing very innovative. It doesn't need to be like a completely new, full of features,
No, no, no.
you know, sort of thing.
This year, or the last couple of years, has been interesting because AI has been the talk of everything. And actually, so at Mindboost, we're thinking not to go AI anti, but like just to use a tagline, like how do we bring humanity back in this world of AI? And so again, like you, I'm interested in sort of behavioural science, learning science, but we also say, how do we create learning that really drives an emotional feeling? So, and again, it's sometimes really hard to quantify, but everything you do in life creates an emotion in your head, doesn't it? Whether you're looking at a website, watching a TV, listening to a podcast, all of a sudden you think about something and it creates an emotion inside you. And if we can bottle that and keep pushing that into learning, like, we still think that's really powerful. And like, let's go beyond just presenting the information you think is right and a stock image and go, oh, we've done digital learning. You go, hold on, how do you create a sense of emotion that drives a feeling, and then it creates a behavior after it? I am not a behavioral scientist, but I love learning about how things happen. Why do people do what they do? What makes people tick and curious, and, sort of trying to look at your own behavior to go, oh, why am I doing that?
Yeah, totally understand. And I'm not a behavioral scientist either, but I love applying the insights, from the science into what we do. And you're right. It's just people may not remember what you told them, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I think it
It
is
made
a
them feel,
very
yeah.
strong thing.
Yeah.
And we have this kind of peak end rule, don't we? Like in any kind of experience, people will remember the two things really well, like how that experience ended. So how, if it ended on a positive note, on reflection or anything else, and what was the highest moment in that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So how did you make them feel? So to your point, if during a learning experience, if we are careful how we design the main messages into the highest emotional points during that
Yeah.
experience and how we
Yeah.
end that experience, that could actually help with how people will remember and then apply
Yeah, of
that
course.
learning back to their life and work.
It's that hook, isn't it, into that emotional trigger. You hook it into that all the time. Because again, when you ask people generally, what's the difference between classroom training and digital? And I say, well, not a lot really, but how you approach it and how you design it, it's so much easier sometimes if you design it from a classroom course. And the only reason I say that is because you've got access to people that might have attended that classroom course. And that's the first question I always ask them is, what do you remember at the classroom course? Now, a lot of the time, they don't usually, well, they don't always remember the subject, but what they do say is, hey, it was such a fun course. And you go, why is that then? Because of the trainer, the experience I had, the connection with a colleague. So, and then what are the language that you picked up during the day, and how can we take that experience and bottle it into a piece of digital learning? And that, it's those sort of little triggers that get those emotions and those memories firing to go, how do we bottle that in digital learning?
Yeah, you're right. And I think, to build on what you said, what I really love about bringing these insights from BS is looking at every experience more holistically. To your point, maybe somebody, after a learning experience, they say, okay, we remember certain things, but would that remembering really change their behavior? So maybe they know how to do it, maybe they remember how to do it, and they still won't do it. And what behavioral science does is looking at the, other things like motivation, like the environment, the opportunities they have, or the other supports other than learning, other than knowledge and skills development. Do they have all of those different types of supports that they need? If not, they can remember everything from the course, but that won't help them change any behavior or
No,
perform
no,
better. So it's
no.
like really focusing on that element, what can help them change a certain behavior, or what can, and also if they do change that behavior, how will it impact that space? If it is a business kind of initiative, how would it impact that business? Tracking those impacts, I think, is really important as well. And this is what they do it really well. When I see like in behavioral science initiative, I see like they do that. They look at that holistically and look at the impact up front, not as an
Yeah.
afterthought.
I'm also, I've probably just given myself a challenge here because I'm also thinking, how often do organisations track emotion and sentiment rather than just like finite? They've done a course, yes or no. I don't know, we've saved more money, we've brought in more revenue. It's usually those sort of metrics. And I'm just thinking, how powerful would it be to just do a pilot with an organisation to go, we've just done launched some training, but all we want to measure is the emotion and the feeling and the sentiment.
Just imagine that.
I know. So I think someone would go, what's the point of that then? Because that doesn't change anything. But actually, we know it does. That's a really powerful change.
Yeah.
It's people's behaviour.
The way I see it is, considering it as leading indicators is like what you were saying. So if we have like that kind of lagging indicator or factor we want to move or we want to change, there will be some certain elements that can lead to that change. Emotions could be one of them. There's people's satisfaction with their job or people motivation with their job, how much they hope or how much they can see themselves getting promoted to a better role or whatever role that they have in their mind if they do some learning. And I think part of it is I think learning shouldn't be just about imparting information. It should help people kind of get closer to that identity that they want. If they say that, okay, I want to become that person and these are the things I need. Say, okay, so we can provide whatever it is you need, the support from the manager, the learning that you need, and so many other things.
It's funny you just did that. So I was on a call with Lauren Waldman a little while ago, and I was talking about I'm driven from emotion, and I did exactly the same as you've just done. I just did tactile move to go, it's really heartfelt. And the more people you talk to, the more people go, yeah, I can feel it. I've got, a real heartfelt feeling about it. And yet for, a century or so, we've been conditioned to go, it's not about the feeling, it's about the measurable outcome to it. I think we are at a place where a lot of people are saying, no, I need to feel it. I need, I can't grab onto this, but I know it's a feeling that, I need.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, those things that they say, get the emotion out of it. How is it possible? We are humans.
No, but yeah, exactly. And that's why I keep wanting to say our tagline almost for, one of the events is, in a world of AI, let's bring back the humanity in people. Let's make sure people connect.
The irony is AI is helping people to be more empathetic.
I mean, I'm absolutely not an AI hater. So I use Gemini, and I've been having some really interesting conversations with Google Gemini and really trying to challenge it. And what I like about Gemini is it feels really human. And so to the point where, if you asked a question and the answer is not quite right, even if you said, no, that's not right, in a conversational tone, Gemini comes back and says, no, you're right. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. And and you think, well, okay, this is just like having a conversation, actually. And so I'm sure the Googles, the Apples of the world are building lots of human like features into the conversation. It'll get there, no doubt. But it's interesting that there was an idea that AI is just sort of logical. It's, devoid of all emotion, but I'm seeing, different things actually. But that means that we have got to educate AI, so we've got to be superhuman to really educate it.
Definitely. And I use AI quite a lot. And I use like sometimes ChatGPT to have a conversation with. It may sound funny, but I just want to see like how how AI can interact with us. And I sometimes find it quite smart actually. It depends how you prompt it. If you prompt it to be more human like, to have, building more empathy.
It's a response you'll get.
Then the response you get. And I sometimes feel like responses I get are kind of people pleasing. So
Okay.
they always want to make me feel really good. And I say, look, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I want the real response.
Exactly. Be honest, be transparent. And then the response you get will be different. Yeah. It's just interesting. And I recently experimented with another AI called Bordy.
Okay.
He actually calls you. So you can leave your phone with them and they will call you and you can have like a telephone conversation. And that blew my mind.
What's that called?
Bordy, Boardy. And I can send you the link. So
yeah,
it's a guy with Australian accent.
Okay.
And they call you and start having a conversation with you. And how it works, it helps you connect with people in the industry who are interested in the things you are doing, in the initiatives you are interested in.
Yeah.
So it works like a connector as well. Very interesting one.
I mean, I love experimenting with stuff like that.
Yeah, it's good. It's always good to experiment and see, do.
So I'm gonna change tact a little bit. I asked you a couple of questions, didn't I, before our poddy? The first one was, what excites you, makes you fizz with energy? I think we got a bit of a taster at the start, but I'll just elaborate on it.
I mean, again, it's one of those questions if you have enough time for that, because there are just so many things that bring me energy and joy.
That's lovely to hear, though, isn't it? When people say, I don't know, I couldn't think of an answer to that. It's like, no, what just generally brings you joy? Well, what gets you up in the morning?
Yeah. So the thing is, I absolutely, like I said, I just love to explore the unknown, which means I love traveling. It's nothing I can hide. And I remember in very early years, I even lost a job opportunity because the question they asked me at the end of the interview, they asked me something and I said, oh, I love traveling. I love to go away. And they were thinking, oh, okay, so you're not going to work here.
You're not going to be at work.
So yeah, I think that's one of the things. I just love to get lost in places I don't know, in new cities, in new environments.
So where's the best place you've been lost?
So many places. I have actually, I don't know what the word for that is. I'm a talented getting lost person. You just send me somewhere and I get lost immediately.
There's a question for ChatGPT there. What is the actual word for a professional getting lost person?
A professional getting lost person. So many places. I think the best one was in Thailand. I went on a cycling trip. It was a solo trip, and the plan was to cycle around Southeast Asia for 6 months without any experience whatsoever. I ended up doing it for 1 month and a half, 1,000 something kilometers. And then I thought, okay, I will send the bicycle back, and I continued backpacking. And I think on average, I got lost maybe 10 times a day there.
What I'm really liking is how proud you are of getting lost. And I think, like, wouldn't that be really powerful if we bring them into organisations and said, right, how many times a day can you make a mistake, get confused, get lost, and learn new stuff? And how powerful would that be?
I think there is something about that randomness, wanting to explore new things. And I thought, because I went there with no purpose, I just wanted to explore. So I think there is that element. If you have a purpose to do something, obviously you cannot get lost as much.
Well, I think you become sort of laser sighted, don't you, on doing that? Whereas if you don't, then you just go, oh, whatever, let's get lost today.
Yeah, I know. And I think there is something really powerful with that randomness, because
Yeah.
then it opens up a lot of opportunities. You get to meet people, or you get to see places that you would never have
Yeah.
the opportunity if you had a plan.
Yeah.
And I'm a plan A, plan B person as well. But sometimes it's just, you know, the randomness brings you joy,
Yeah.
and the plan can just keep you grounded.
I agree. We went to I think we went to a Greek island once actually, and we met this other couple, and like just hadn't planned on anything at all. And I think the woman in the other couple was sort of quite adventurous, and she said, "All right, let's why don't we just walk around here?" And something quite benign, but it ended up finding a randomer's house, having a like squid and octopus in their living room, and just made the amazing memories for that holiday, like that we still talk about today. And it was something about the randomness, actually, of meeting someone, going somewhere completely different. I mean, I suppose I mean, you've got to be safe around things like that. I wonder if that's the thing sometimes that stops people going, oh, it's not safe. Yeah, yeah, but you've got to be safe, but you've also got to be quite adventurous, else you're never going to live your life.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. And I think it's that those types of opportunities where you just step into something that you don't know where you land.
Yeah, it's just unplanned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's just fun.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine one of your friends going, yeah, Houra's organising a holiday. Now, that's going to be really cool if you're up for getting lost and making new adventures. If you're not that, then I suggest give it a step, sidestep.
I know exactly. I would not organize holidays for other people.
I want to go here and
Just, draw what is the thing? I forget the dice.
yeah,
Just throw the dice.
yeah, that'll do. And so that's the best place to get lost in. What's the best place you've been like culturally as well, where it's just like completely different culture?
Completely different culture. I would say Cambodia was
Okay.
was a place that I found very different. It was a bit difficult at times as well, mainly because of where I stayed. So I stayed in this orphanage, which was on a floating river. And things were so different there. I ended up being the only woman who was volunteering there, and the only foreigner. There were, I would say, a lot of things to unlock with regards to communication and the way the expectations, because I didn't know the culture at all and I couldn't speak the language. They wouldn't speak English either.
Right.
It was really difficult, but at the same time, very nice, because this is where you could see, like, if you cannot communicate with someone with language, all other things come in, and then you could see how people can get out of their ways to help you, because then that human element
Yeah, yeah.
just kind of shines through.
And how did you find yourself having to adapt then for that, the language barrier and the cultural barrier? How did you sort of personally start adapting to get on with that and have a good memory?
I would say just the main thing was to let it go.
Okay.
not to have any expectations. And I think the moment you stop having any expectations, you start appreciating so many gems that
Yeah,
all are
yeah.
all around you that will pop out from every corner. If you have expectations, things will change, I would say. But when you don't have expectations, it will happen. And I think I ended up doing a lot of body language.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you communicate.
I think that's universal, isn't it? I mean, even in the same language, you end up creating, you start using your hands and your body language, and it's sort of, yeah, that sort of transcends any sort of spoken language, really, doesn't it?
Exactly. And then a huge part of it is also kids. They're just so easy and innocent. And it's not difficult to adapt when you are surrounded with really lovely kids full of energy who just, they don't have any agenda. They just want to live.
I've said this quite a lot before, actually. I think that's why I almost stay quite curious, is because I've got a childlike mind. But actually, children, I mean, it's almost frustrating that that you think age equals experience and experience equals I'm superior to you. And actually, you only have to be around children for any short length of time, and you start realizing children are the ones that are educating, the older people to go, oh, okay, that's how it's done. That's how we should behave. That's how we let our guard down. Because the older you get more baggage and you get more inhibitions, and you go, your default is, no, I can't do that. And then the exception is, yes, of course we can do that. And
Yeah.
you think they're bonkers. They want to go and get lost all the time. Like, what? you know,
I think you're absolutely right. There is this thing about the fear of being judged, I would say. We start acting differently because we don't want to be judged, or we are afraid of being judged.
yeah.
And when you're around children and you see they don't care,
They don't
it
care. They get it wrong. It's a mess. It's, and
yeah,
yeah, but
exactly.
then there's joy in that, and then there's little nuggets of going, that's a better way to do stuff, and sometimes it needs both, doesn't it? It needs that creative, messy, disorganized, having fun, and it needs some sort of oversight of, oh, that could be something really powerful there if we sort of just shape it this way. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just so amusing, isn't it, that you see a division rather than a collective sometimes working together.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it's a bit like scuba diving, you know. It's just being comfortable with the unknown. But
Yeah.
it has a mix of both. To your point, it needs to have that feeling of ease with the unknown and making mistakes and, not being afraid of what you don't know. At the same time, we need some kind of maturity and we need to have a plan. And in a scuba diving, it's exactly that, because you need to have a plan, of course. You need to check your air. You need to um, communicate with your body really well. Because if you go down, I don't know, 30, 40 meters in water and you haven't checked these things, there will be a disaster.
Yeah, yeah.
At the same time, you need to feel comfortable with not knowing what is waiting for you
And adapting to it.
in water, like in an environment which is not our natural environment.
Yeah.
So it's like that balance that, okay, I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
comfortable with the unknown, but I have checked. I'm not silly. I have checked my air. I know I'm not putting myself in danger. I'm not creating danger for others, but it's just having a little bit fun as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the idea of a messy world, but some sort of essence of a structure or cohesion, but learning all the time between those different things. So the other question I asked you was, what do you think your superpower is, or what do other people would they say your superpower is? You're not allowed to say getting lost. You've used that up already.
Okay, I'm going to disappoint you with this one. I don't have a superpower.
Everyone has got something that they're.
I think only because I don't see myself as a superhuman. If I did have a superpower, I think, and it's probably because of my background, I think what I would do would just change all those power thirsty tyrants, just change all of them in the world into loving, normal human beings. I think that's what I would do. Unfortunately, I'm not a superhuman, so I can't do it.
But we can influence, right? We can just keep being, the best versions of ourselves to try and get those people together. I think you're wrong, actually. I think people gravitate towards people that, that are nice and that I categorize people into a nice and a not so nice pile, and that's basically it. You say, they're all right. I get on with them. I like them. I really want to spend time with them because I learn from them. They give me energy and give me excitement. And the other people that suck life out of everyone, you make a conscious decision. And the more you're, positive and living life, and people gravitate towards you, and then you build a collective around that, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way of, kind of putting that. It's just, yeah, I love your narration.
But it's right though, isn't it? Because people, I mean, you don't wake up in the morning thinking, I want to be really well, I don't wake up thinking I want to be really miserable today. I wake up thinking I want to be excited and enthused and what can I learn new? And sometimes you just need that extra voice in a call to go, come on, this is what we're going to do today. And then it starts, so it's a domino effect, isn't it?
Definitely. It's, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when you go out and just walk and smile randomly at someone and they smile back at you, and then
We
and
had
then you
exactly the same conversation with Lauren.
smiling
Yeah.
at people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in my experience, you get one of two responses. You either get, what the hell? He's smiling at me. What is this weirdo doing? Or you just get a nod of approval and a smile back. And I think I sort of mentioned this a couple of times, actually. I spoke to Priyanku from Lego ages ago, who said he purposely wears bright clothes to get people to look at them and bring a smile to their face, which then translated in my head is every time I walk Woody, I'm going to make a conscious effort to smile and say hello to people and make them say hello back to me. So that's my challenge, like on a daily, to go, how many people have I said hello to and made smile? And
Yeah, I love that, Caleb. I think there was something I heard somewhere, I don't remember where it was, but they say small acts of kindness
yeah,
can be contagious. And
yeah,
I totally agree with that. And I think I would say so many other things like courage is contagious. And you can see it
yeah,
in a
yeah.
lot of cases when you see some people do something with a lot of confidence and with a lot of courage, and everyone around them suddenly,
We can do this.
yeah, we can do this. If she can do, I
Yeah,
can do it
yeah,
too. So
yeah. It's
this is
infectious.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that beautiful domino effect,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say.
And I'd, and there'll be people that go, oh, you're just talking soft now. I mean, but this is about being human. This is about why would you live your life being horrible to people and not enjoying your life? Why I often say, and I don't want this to sound morbid at all, but I want to reflect back on me. If I could have an out of body experience, I want to reflect back on my life and go, do you know what? He wasn't really sure when he started life, but he sort of grew into it. And then he started appreciating other people as well as himself. And he's all right. He's not a bad person. And I go, all right, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
You can't be perfect all the time, and we all make mistakes, and I think if we recognize them, but actually the journey that you're on is to be, you know in the main, nicer to yourself and nicer to other people around you, then that's where that collective, domino effect will start happening, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And I think we need to start replacing perfection with progress. There's no perfection. I mean, what is perfection? You can
Just
always,
learning
yeah, you can always do something better and higher. It's
different.
that
Yeah,
progress that matters.
yeah. And I suppose then it's, well, what do you measure that progress on? Because, as you say, the progress can't be perfection. But did I learn something different, today than I knew yesterday? And if the answer is yes, then great. You've either learned in in an easy way or a hard way. You've learned with other people or on your own. But if ultimately you're learning every day and you're passing that knowledge on as well, or sharing it amongst your peers, then I think that's progress.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the way to make it maybe more purposeful is to have a vision. So when you have a vision and you know where you're going, and then you let randomness and all of these things happen along the way and make mistakes and are not perfect, but then you feel like, okay, it's okay. I know where I'm going. I can get lost.
Although that is a contradiction to wandering around in Thailand.
No,
Okay, you didn't lead with that.
my purpose is getting lost, Caleb.
I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I can't believe how quick the time has gone either.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, time flies. We said that from the beginning.
It's so good having you on the call. If anyone wants to find out more about your exploits of traveling, getting lost, or whatever you do at Blue Jay, what's the best way of people getting hold of you?
Okay, so I won't share my getting lost stories on LinkedIn.
I think you should. There could be a diary there.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, by all means, I'm on LinkedIn, Houra Amin, and Blue Jay Learning also. So whichever people like. So I'm always happy to connect with more people.
Fabulous.
And thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. Right, I had a very great time.
Don't sound so surprised. This has been Mindboost Moments. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. And if you want to learn how Mindboost can really add feeling and emotion to learning experiences within your business, check out our website at mindboostlearning.com.